Superman and Lois episode 3 just finished premiering on the CW, and you guys can watch it on the CW website right now for free. In this video, I'm going to be giving you guys my spoiler-free review of episode 3 of Superman and Lois. Without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. So, the good. The first thing I wanted to start off with the good was the mix between the characters in terms of just screen time alone. I thought that they did a great job in pacing each of the characters and giving them enough on-screen time to give us enough of each little storyline that they're developing and let us have a little taste of each thing to keep us intrigued. Now I'm going to go more into this later, but I did feel as if some parts were a little bit more bland. But another thing that I thought was pretty good about this episode was the connections between each character and how they were mixed together. For example, in this episode, we get our first time of Superman finally going into Lois's storyline. We see the Superman kind of firsthand interact with that news reporter, and those storylines finally merge, which I've been waiting for since the first episode. I've just been waiting for Superman's bigger storyline to interact with Lois's bigger storyline, which we got explained to us in episode 2. That was mostly what episode 2 was about. I also thought that this episode had phenomenal VFX for a CW show. I'm not going to give it the biggest props because it is a mixture between HBO and CW, so I'm not going to be giving it some super high level rating compared to like The Flash and Supergirl, because if it was just the CW funding it, it wouldn't be nearly as good as it is right now, and that's not even that good. It's nothing like super crazy. I really have low expectations. There were a few scenes in this episode that I felt like if they cut out, it wouldn't have harmed the action sequence, and if anything, it would have honestly made it better, because these bad VFX and CGI shots kind of took me out of the entire moment. This episode, we get a lot of pushing the boundaries of Jordan using his powers, and he has to kind of control it. Since last episode, we remember when he said he's going back to school, Superman allowed him to go back to school. So now he's at school, he has to learn how to control his powers, and he promises his dad that he's not gonna leash out or anything like that. I do definitely think that they did a great job as to just kind of teasing us thinking, oh my god, he might lash out, and then he doesn't. They do a good job of teasing us and kind of edging us towards the climax point of him finally showing his powers to the world. Moving on, the final thing I want to talk about in the good section of this video is the high school parts were not as cheesy as I thought. This episode was mostly high school related. It was mostly like taking place in their high school. It was telling the story of them on the football team, and then the other girl, I forgot her name, but the girl having issues with her family and stuff like that. So I think this episode did a really, really great job in not making it too cheesy, but just cheesy enough to make me like kind of more interested, because every show has to have a sense of being cheesy. For example, like All American season 1 is the only season of All American that I've watched, and again, obviously it was pretty cheesy, but that's kind of what kept drawing me in. You have to have a cheesy storyline for you to create good climaxes at the end of each episode, and this episode did it perfectly. They had great climaxes at the end of each storyline that they built off in this episode, and that's another great thing about this episode. They actually enhanced all of the storylines further than I thought they would. At the beginning of the show, I thought they're going to have way too many storylines that they're going to have to tell throughout the show. They're going to have Lois's storyline, Superman's storyline, they're going to have the Lex Luthor villain storyline. They're probably going to have sub-villains too, but they haven't introduced any so far, so I'm happy that they're not doing that. And then we also have each of the twins' storyline, and then we have Jonathan's storyline as to how he's going to get his powers and he already has his powers, but how he's going to use his powers, and if he's going to use them and maybe lash out against his the people that are bullying him and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot that this show has to kind of conceal and kind of hide under the covers for a while, because they can't put that all out there right now, or else it ruins the whole point of the show. And in this episode, they did a great job of just giving us enough to keep me waiting, but then again, they're not giving away too much. Alright, next up, I want to go to the bad of this episode. One thing that I didn't really like about this episode is that there was no mention of the big bad being Mr. Luthor. Also, we didn't get anything mentioning the sergeant, Lois's dad. We also got a slight mention of Edge, but we didn't really get anything for him either. We just got slight mentions of everyone, but then again, I just felt like they kind of wasted this episode in terms of building up a long-term villain. There was a sub-villain, but they didn't like build him up like they would in like The Flash or Supergirl. They didn't have like a whole profile style of people studying him and all that kind of stuff. It was just kind of random, out of the blue, and that's one thing I didn't really like. It just didn't seem like this episode had something to do in the long run of the Superman storyline. Yes, this episode did a great job in excelling the twin storyline and Lois's storyline, but Superman is the main character of the show, and he had no long-term storyline improvements or accelerations throughout this episode. The next thing that I want to talk about was the lackluster action. There were only 2 action sequences in this episode, and one of them was super duper short. Now I know, and I set these expectations from the beginning. I wasn't expecting too much action because yes, it's a family drama show. It's the CW. But even if you look at their other shows, they have a good balance of action and drama. For example, in The Flash, yes, they have so much like drama, soap opera drama stuff, but they do balance some of the action out with that. In this show, they're not really balancing out the action at all. Maybe later on down the line, whenever we get more stuff with Edge and Mr. Luthor, then we'll start to see more action stuff like that. But as of now, it's pretty lackluster on the action side, and that's one thing that I do expect to be at least decent in a Superman show. The final thing I want to talk about is just Jordan being petty once again. I hate that his character is like this. It's just annoying as a viewer to watch. He's either in a super happy mood or he's in a super depressed mood. There's no in between, and then his brother Jordan is just sitting there like the whole time. I know that's a little criticism in just the storyline, but it's just annoying to see that he only has 2 sets of emotions. It's just annoying to see. I would have rather seen more character development for other characters instead of seeing Jordan yell and cry for the 50th time. And up until like this 3rd episode, we've literally seen him cry so much, it's just not even funny anymore. And yeah guys, that's it for this video. Again, if you guys want to watch the full Superman and Lois episode 3, it's free on the CW right now. This isn't sponsored or anything, but I might as well tell you guys if you're watching this spoiler for your review. After you've watched the episode, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new around here, and turn notifications on so you don't miss any new videos or anytime I go live on the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.